This is my story about my great-great-grandmother, Elizabeth Hocking. In early 2014 we knew little about her, but conscientious researching uncovered photographs of her and her origins and how she came to Australia. Elizabeth was born and lived near Leedstown, Cornwall, a small village near Hale along the coastline of Cornwall. From the 1851 census, we know her family were tin and copper miners, and some of the relatives were also small farmers. When I got her death certificate and that of Prudence Hocking Jenkins, the wife of John Jenkins, who Elizabeth later married after Prudence died, it was easy to deduce that they were sisters, and their mother had an unusual name, Cluenzo, though it was often spelt differently on both death certificates. From there it was easy to find the family in UK in the census of 1851 in the Crowan district of Cornwall. We know Elizabeth married Alexander Robertson in Kingston, South Australia in 1867. I was unable to find her arriving with her parents, but guessed that she may have come with another relative. This gave me an arrival on the Mary Shepherd in South Australia with her brother William, his wife Anne and 3 children. From South Australian records we can find 6 children attributed to Elizabeth and Alexander Robertson. Alexander, Mary, William, my great-grandfather, Elizabeth, Thomas and George Elder. We can deduce from the New South Wales records, such as Sands Directory, that Elizabeth with her children came to Granville in approximately 1883, most likely to be near her elder sister Prudence, who had arrived in Sydney in 1879 with her husband John Jenkins and her 3 children. I finally found his death certificate in 1890 and burial at Mays Hill Cemetery in Parramatta. When Elizabeth arrived in Granville, she set up cafes in Railway Street, Granville, and then in Good Street, Granville, where she also held a liquor licence. I discovered old photographs of approximately 1900 showing signs on the side walls of her shop in Good Street. 2 of her children, Mary and William Robinson, married sister and brother James and Martha Northey of Granville, respectively. The Northeys were also from Cornwall and came to South Australia in 1847 and were copper miners in both places. Then Josiah Northey's family came to Granville via 10 years gold mining in Hill End. Of Elizabeth Hocking Robinson Jenkins, taken about 1910 with Elizabeth's granddaughter Maud, Doris's mother. This photograph confirmed my thoughts on who was Elizabeth Jenkins on a page in the Grace Northey photo album I was given. I knew that Elizabeth was on this page, but I didn't know which person it was. So I now believe this photo is Elizabeth and her husband John Jenkins in 1924 at Hannah Griffiths Northey, now Hannah Cross, his birthday party. Elizabeth married her brother-in-law John Jenkins in 1898. He was an orchardist from Carlingford, and the current Jenkins Road was named after him. Elizabeth died in 1929 at her daughter Mary's house in Granville. She was separated from John Jenkins late in life, and he died the same year at Wickham in Newcastle at his daughter's house. From the old English maps of Cornwall in the 1870s and 1890s, we can correlate the houses with the 1851 census, and therefore living in the first house outside Paul's Green towards Leedstown on the road from Townsend. This area was called Penglaze, and a farm of this name existed. The name was changed to Polglaze in later censuses. In June 2015, while staying at the Cornish coastal old industrial town of Hale, I was able to take a taxi the 4 miles to the area between Townsend and Leedstown. This is Paul's Green Farm, where in the 1841 census a Thomas Hocking farmer and wife Sally lived. This is most likely Elizabeth's grandfather. We're now driving towards the nearest house to Paul's Green, and it is likely residence of William Hocking, Elizabeth's father. The old maps show small mine shafts and pits on all the farmland behind these buildings. In the census we can see that the Hocking families married into the Ralph family and maybe also the Rodder families, as Prudence named her daughter James Rodder Jenkin. This is now Leedstown, the nearest town to where they lived, approximately 1 kilometre from Paul's Green. Quite a few buildings in the town would have been in existence in 1851 and 1861 and are shown on the 1890 maps. These are the old buildings near the centre of Leedstown at the crossroads. The maps show quite large mines behind the town, and the current Google Maps show the still disturbed ground. We're now driving down to Penglay's farm, just behind the town, later to become Polglay's farm. So I therefore expect the area between Paul's Green and Leedstown to have been called Penglay's. The nearby station of St Earth was opened in 1852 and would probably have been less than 8 kilometres walking for Elizabeth and her brother William when they left to come to Australia. We then head back to the coastal town of Hull, where in the 1790s a large industrial complex built mining equipment and exported it around the world. Hull is only a short distance to the famous coastal city of St Ives, Cornwall. Paul's Green to St Ives would be less than 15 kilometres. We know there are a significant number of descendants of Elizabeth's brother William Hocking living in South Australia. There are other Robinson families living in and around Granville at the same time as Elizabeth was. Were they relatives of Alexander Robinson? More investigation required.